so welcome to the third workshop of the World Wine Cargo Alliance. My name is Javier, and I'm here with my colleague Tania. We are very happy that you are participating in this initiative. This is the third one. And basically, I'm going to start by explaining once again the dynamic of this workshop. So every month we have a volunteer company that will present or that is presenting a topic that might be interesting for the rest. In the first workshop, we had David Metzi from Cargo Wine presenting wine shipments. In the second one, we had Arturo Arguedas from Grupo Interlogistics presenting. He was presenting e-commerce in Latin America. And now in this third workshop, we have Andrea Coppola from Mint Italia, and he's presenting controlled temperature. After these presentations, we always have a Q&A session, so you can ask whatever you want. Please remember that the volunteers, it is not mandatory for them to answer all of the questions if they involve delicate information for the company. But of course, we want you to participate. This is all about participating. And I don't know, we are really happy to be doing these workshops because we think it's a good way to learn from each other and to keep in touch and to build long-lasting relationships, business relationships. And yeah, okay, so this time I will let you introduce yourselves so that you know each other. There are new members. We also have some guests, but please keep it really, really brief because for some people it's really late already. So just you can say your name, your company, your country, and you are welcome to add something else. But please keep it really, really short, okay? I will mention your names and then you can introduce yourself. Okay, so we start with you, Shalini.
John Montesinos, Ashram Freight in Canada, in Toronto.
Hello, John. Okay, now Shalini.
Yeah. Hi, this is Shalini from Worldline Logistics, and I represent India in WWCA, and we are a freight forwarding and customs broker agents in India, and we handle all sorts of shipments. So this is a brief introduction as of now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alejandro?
Hello, everyone. This is Alejandro from DEPCO in Colombia. It's very nice to meet you all here and I have some time to relax, even though we are all looking at the email at the same time and everything, but at least we have some time, to chill, speak, and, get to know each other better.
Okay, Flavia?
Yes, hello, I'm Flavia from Smart Logistics from Argentina, Buenos Aires. I think that these workshops are very useful for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Yanis, he's a new member.
Hello to everyone. I'm Yanis, representing Greece, Company Quicks Global. We're actually the newest member here, as far as I understand from Javier. We just joined today. So good to meet you, everyone, and hope to be able to interact in new businesses and also make new friends.
Thank you so much, Yanis. Jacqueline?
Hello, guys. I'm Jacqueline from Cartas International, Brazil. It should be another person here together with me, Bruno, but he has some small accident at home and he will not be here, but I'm here to hear you guys.
Okay, we hope he is well. Thank you so much.
He will be fine.
Adriana?
Hello, this is Adriana from Colombia, from Nova Comex. Always it's very nice to be here with you. And thank you, Andrea. I know we will learn about it so much today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now it's the time for Shane.
Good morning from New Zealand. I'm Shane and this is Priya from 360. 360 is a privately owned company with 8 branches around New Zealand. is 65 people. So holler out if you need anything. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Montse?
I am Montse Nomen from Cargo Crew Forwarders, Cargo Wine and Worldwide Cargo Alliance, and I am here to learn. I am sure that I can learn a little bit more from Andrea Coppola. Nice to meet you all again. And sorry, but I have some problem with my camera.
Thank you so much, Monte. It's okay. Manena?
Hi, this is Manena from Grupo MMS Mexico. Nice to see everybody here. And I think the subject control temperature is very interesting to us. We use it a lot, so I'm sure we can learn some more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manena. Now we have Manuel Contreras in the car.
Hi, nice to meet you. Manuel Contreras from Costa Rica. Mate service limit. This is very interesting, the topic, and I'm very happy working together, all the people. Nice to meet you. Have a nice night, all the people.
Thank you. David?
Hello, everybody. I'm David from Cargo Wine. I'm looking forward to hear Andrea explain us the temperature control. Thank you.
Perfect. And finally, we have Daniela.
No.
Well, we don't have Daniela with us at the moment. She might participate in the Q&A, and also there might be some people joining us later. But finally, we have Andrea Coppola. He's presenting. So, Andrea, whenever you want.
Okay, thank you, Javi, for this introduction, and thank you everybody for this nice attendance. Because you know, it's for many is like the hour is not like the best of the day. Somebody has been working all day long. Somebody has yet to become, you know, to start working. So thank you, thank you for being here. What I would like to talk about today is not exactly our expertise into controlling temperature. Better and rather, I would like to talk about the way in which we want to be expert in this very huge topic, because controlling temperature is a pretty huge topic in our industry. And it is very important to talk about this a little bit and share some experience because we are, especially now, we are about to face one of the most important air cargo challenge of the century, which is the transport of vaccines, hopefully. And if you guys read the industry newspaper, you see that now the freight forwarding industry is getting ready for this huge challenge, which means to ship under controlled temperature the equal forecasted of 8,000 747 aircraft worldwide under controlled temperature. So we better, some of us will take part on this challenge, some of us don't, and it's a good idea, to just try to get ready as much as we can. I will share my screen in order to help, talking with a couple of slides. Let me check. Share. Okay. When we talk about controlled temperature, I don't know why it's not working. Yes. When we talk about controlled temperature, we talk about the storage, the preservation and transportation of cargo, which is sensitive to atmospheric conditions, of course, and needs to maintain a certain temperature during transport. This is a way of transport which is very common to pharmaceutical, of course, as you know, to food and beverage and some cosmetics and biological products. There are also few other minor products that usually are shipped under controlled temperature, and we refer to some skins of rare animals, of some powders, but they're pretty rare. So I'm sure the majority of us already dealt with shipping of pharmaceutical, of shipping of wine, for example, under controlled temperature, which is a commodity that is common to many of us, and of course, perishable in general. When we talk about the types of controlled temperature logistics, there are basically three ways to maintain a certain temperature during transports. And the three ways are, first of all, the using of refrigerated vehicles, like you know, a reefer truck, which is very much used for the land transports, of course, and the land segment of an international transport. And they are very commonly used, of course, because the reefer truck is capable to maintain the temperature very stable during a certain transport, and even protect from sunlight, and even maintain a certain humidity condition, because we don't have to forget that there are some kind of commodities that are not only temperature sensitive, but maybe also humidity sensitive. And for this reason, the use of refrigerated vehicles is very common and very stable. There are some limitations, of course, and some weaknesses into the reefer vehicles, and of course are referred to the need of certain certification and validation of that vehicle during a certain time. So regularly must be checked and verified, and this is, of course, may arise extra cost for the maintenance. And also they are sensitive to the kind of temperature variation during the loading and unloading phases, and when the doors of the truck are open, so the temperature can go up and down very quickly. The second type of controlled temperature logistic is done through the passive shipping containers. When we talk about passive shipping containers, we talk about all those containers that are can maintain a certain temperature without any source of electricity. And nowadays, there are a few like isothermic packaging that they maintain certain temperature even up to, and there are tests reported and verified and certified to maintain a certain temperature even up to 5 or 6 days, very stable. And those passive containers, as you see in the picture here on the left side of the screen, they are made of polyester membranes, and the coolant is usually blue ice or dry ice, even dry ice, that they maintain this temperature. And of course, the limitation of those kind of, even that there are the latest developments are very impressive about the technology that there is behind those kind of packaging. The limitation, the main limitation is, of course, the volumes and the quantity that they can carry. They are very commonly used, obviously, for the samples, for the vaccines, of course, and for the smaller quantities. When we talk about air freight and we talk about even sea freight, the bigger quantities are temperature maintained through the active shipping systems. The most commonly active shipping systems used, and that we all know, is the reefer container. The reefer container, usually they are integrated, meaning that the engine and the electricity system and the generator of the temperature maintenance is integrated into the reefer container. Reefer container, it is very important because sometimes it is common to think that a reefer container that can cool the cargo itself, but it's very important to maintain this difference between the temperature of the container and the temperature of the goods, because there are two things that sometimes don't match. So why they don't match? Because a reefer container, as the majority of the active shipping systems, they are not projected to cool the temperature of the goods themselves, but they are projected to maintain a certain temperature. So this is something that usually we forget during our daily working life. Because if we send a reefer container to a shipper's door, but the shipper load 35 degrees goods into a reefer container set at 5 degrees, first of all, it may risk that the temperature of the goods will never drop to 5 degrees during the entire journey. And second, it may even damage the cooling system of the reefer container. When we talk about air freight, as you can see, I show like a picture of the Envirotainer, which is the brand of one of the most famous brand of the active shipping systems used by air freight. Those containers are, of course, they have like an electricity plug-in, and they are also, as you all know, pretty expensive in terms of costs, because also they have basically we have two types of active shipping systems by air. We have the RAP and the RKN. The RAP and RKN, they basically differ in terms of volume that they can carry and in terms of gross weight. The RAP can contain up to, they have a pivot kilo of 1,650 kilos, while can carry up to 5 euro pallet volume. While the RKN is a bit smaller, because can carry like 1 euro pallet and has a pivot of about 755 kilos of pivot in terms of gross weight. Very important is to know that basically the entire volume of those containers cannot be used because there is a certain air circulation that must be ensured, and plus those containers has a bunker inside where there is the cooling system or the allocation for the dry ice that is inside, and of course take off space from the volume of these containers. Now, of course, the type of shipping modes are basically three, even when we talk about controlled temperature. The most commonly used is the air freight, above all when we talk about pharmaceuticals, for obvious reason, because of the transit times, because the air freight nowadays can even certify the cool chain into the shipping system by air freight, meaning certified handling ground handling warehouse agents, and certified temperature during airlift, and certified temperature during the unloading procedures. So there are many strengths, and when we talk about air freight of controlled temperature, and still there are the latest development that are increasing the reliability of this shipping mode especially for pharmaceuticals. What are the weaknesses of the air freight? Of course, the transfer points, because the majority of the temperature variations are recorded during the transfer from the warehouse to to the aircraft, or during the transshipment. Or maybe the transshipment airport, and of course, all these situations may affect the stability of the temperature. Another weakness is flight planning, because of course usually pharmaceutical shipped by air, they have to maintain a certain temperature. The pallets cannot be stacked. They must be kept away from other type of commodities. So to assess the flight balance is pretty difficult, and so this is why usually the controlled temperature air freight rates usually are very expensive and at premiums. And of course, as we said before, the cost of these active containers are pretty impressive, above all when we talk about below zero temperatures to be maintained for certain commodities. When we talk about air freight, I just want to mention that anything we need to know about air freight under controlled temperature is into the IATA TCR manual. This IATA TCR manual is a kind of must-have of the certified operator in terms of air freight, not only the freight forwarders. Basically, the IATA manual is TCR manual is made for the ground handling operators and even air operators, but also there are many mention about the necessary documentation and necessary packaging requirements and the marking and labeling. So it is something that, of course, as any IATA manual, has a cost, because every agent must buy a copy, should buy a copy. But also it is interesting because nowadays IATA offers also the chance to make a consultation online for 20 euros, 25 euros. You can even, if you need to make a consultation, you can buy for 20 euros a 1-week consultation of IATA TCR instead of buying the fuel manual that costs over 300, may cost even maybe 300 euros or something like that. One small and quick mention about the compilation of the airway bills. When we talk about temperature control, basically the way we issue an airway bill is the same, exactly the same as the one we issue for general cargo. There are two types very common when we talk about controlled temperature airway bill, and the first one is the one carrying data loggers, because when we talk about pharmaceutical, basically it is very frequent the use of data loggers. The data loggers are these small temperature recording systems that clients put inside a pallet or inside a shipment itself in order to certify that a supply chain has been maintained at a certain temperature. And when you have a data logger, in the past, data loggers were spies. I mean, usually the client, they don't even mention that they were data logger, so the freight forwarder cannot even, or the freight forwarder and any other operator was not prepared to have like a proof of a temperature variation after seeing a data logger records. But now, if you want to ship a data logger and if you want to use a data logger, you must declare. You must declare a data logger, because the data logger must be mentioned on the airway bill. And on top of that, many airlines now, they want us to mention the brand and the model of data logger used. This is for regulation reasons. And this is why usually on the handling information, as you can see here, you put the controlled temperature and the time, controlled temperature segment required, and the data logger included, which is mentioned. Here is missing the type of and the model of data logger, but nowadays we better be prepared, because the airlines, they want us to show the model. The other airway bill usually required when we talk about controlled temperature is the one with dry ice. Also, dry ice is a little bit more complicated, because dry ice, as you know, is considered as a dangerous cargo, and it follows the requirement of DGR goods when we mention it in, as you can see it here, we mentioned the UN class, sorry, the DGR class and the UN number and the quantity used. So after air freight, of course, the sea freight, a quick mention about sea freight, because sea freight is, of course, very commonly used when we talk about perishable and vegetables, and you know, when the volumes of a certain type of products becomes bigger. Of course, nowadays there are some kind of reefer container that they can even control the type. They can even be set to control the kind of maturation processes during transport and during ocean transport, which is very, very interesting. If you have the chance, I invite you to read something about this topic, because it's very, very interesting to see how the transport somehow is used to improve the product maturation and make it arrive in time for a perfect maturation and you know, a better selling, of course, of the product itself. Of course, the sea freight, when we talk about controlled temperature, is cost effective, is less risky, because the variation are less common, and it's easier to monitor. Of course, nowadays every shipping line offer some temperature monitor controlling system, that if you book, for example, with Hapag-Lloyd or Zimline, you can even check the temperature of your reefer container during transport every single day until the container is released at destination. Of course, the weaknesses are the transit times and of course, some seasonal products, or they have like some shelf life which is very short, and it does not match with the sea freight. And obviously, the sea freight is very difficult when we talk about inaccessible location, because if we have to send a reefer container in a place which is very far away from port, of course, the inland cost may affect a lot the cost of the entire shipment. It is very important to be ready and prepared in terms of certification, even from the freight forwarding point of view, because at least in Italy, and at least as per our experience, many times, even when we go and pick up a temperature control shipment for which is shipped under X-Works terms, meaning all paid by destination, the shippers may even require your certification, you know, even if they don't even pay €1 for the transport. But of course, because the supply chain must be certified, especially when we talk about pharmaceutical, and the more we proceed ahead, and the more the controlled temperature numbers increasing, the more strict is the requirement of certification, even to the freight forwarders. So every kind of industry have its own certification when we talk about validation of a cool chain. Here I mentioned a few of them, like IFS for food, GDP for the pharmaceutical, and all of this. But in every single industry and every single market, the kind of certification in order to certify a certain cool supply chain are so many. So I just wanted to mention here quickly. About the temperature records, we mentioned about data loggers that are, as I said, small, basically are small USB keys that they can record temperature and even some humidity, because there are some data loggers that are even capable to record a certain humidity. Data loggers are our enemies and can be our friends, because now the air freight industry and the air freight regulation, as we said, require a client to mention what type of data logger it is used during a certain transport. But this is because the market offers so many types of data loggers, and some data loggers may be more reliable, some others can be less reliable when they become very, very cheap. So of course, the supply chain at any level, they may want to take responsibility and liabilities of a certain temperature only if it is recorded by a verified and certified tool. So what my suggestion to all of you as my colleagues is go in the local market and try to reach local distributors of data loggers, and try to keep a few in your office, because before or after some client may want you to provide some data loggers, and you may want to give them a data logger which works and which is certified and which works well, you know, because you don't want to deal with a data logger of low quality level that may probably record a variation which is not occurred, for example. So go to the local market and find some data logger dealer and try to keep a few of them in your office, because before or after somebody may ask you. Pay attention to the expiration day, because some of them they expire after a certain period of time, and they may not be used any longer. Every single, even if we make a transport by land, not only the reefer container, but also the reefer van may print temperature records. One of them is in this slide as an example, and these kind of temperature records are required by certain clients at the time of unloading. So they don't allow usually to unload a cargo which is supposed to be shipped at a certain temperature if the tracker cannot print inside a temperature records. So this is very important. So when you assign a transport to a transport company, you better verify if their temperature records work, if the printer works, if they're capable to print some temperature records at destination, because soon or after you may be required to show that you can print these records and show a certain temperature maintained during transports. last few things that I wanted to talk about is that this industry is huge, the topic is huge, as we said, and of course there are many fairs and events that talk about shipping of controlled temperature and talk about cold chain. Here I show a few ones, but of course now under COVID everything is virtual, so there are no fairs any longer, and everything is rescheduled for 2021. But it is interesting to attend one of these fairs somehow and sometimes, because there are many things to learn and many providers that can really teach us something which may be important for the daily relationship that we have with our job and with our clients. The forwarder daily cool life, as I mentioned here, may require some choice, because when we talk about controlled temperature, already that we have liabilities, and somehow in our daily life we are always a little bit scared about liabilities, and when we are supposed to coordinate an international shipping of temperature sensitive goods, the liabilities, the liabilities level arise, and it is very important to make some choice, to prefer dedicated services versus consolidated. Of course, if the price and the client is willing to pay allows. It is always preferred to choose for direct service versus the indirect services, for obvious reasons, because the less are the weak points during the transports, the most likely we are capable to maintain a certain temperature, and try to educate client to always choose for a quicker service rather than cheap, because it is very important, because the level of service that we do, I mean, we provide a professional service, and we are also called to guide our clients in terms of shipping choice, and above all when we talk about controlled temperature. And one suggestion that I personally give to you all as my colleagues is try to have your clients sign a contract where it is stated the real liability of a freight forwarder, especially when we talk about controlled temperature, especially when we talk about pharmaceutical, because as you all know, the value of some pharmaceutical can be pretty important. So it is always a good idea to ask client before taking a new job on board. It is always a good idea to ask them to sign a contract, because it's also a way to certify a supply chain in terms of qualities. That's all for today. I try to be very brief, because the topic is huge, but I just wanted to give a few quick topics about this macro area of the controlled temperature.
Okay, so thank you so much, Andrea. I think the presentation was on point, that the explanation was really, really clear. But now it's time for questions. So if you have a question, don't be shy. You can also, if you don't have any question, you can also share your knowledge on the topic. Maybe there's something that you want to add, or maybe you have some concern and Andrea can solve it. So yeah, any question, or somebody wants to participate? we need a first person. Okay, Tanya, you go.
Okay, I can start. Andrea, I really like your presentation, first of all. I like to learn about this topic because I don't know a lot about temperature control. So I really like your presentation. And I really love your term, data logger dealer. I like this term. And I have a question. Did the airline can mandatory require the data logger to be certified, or this is the customer who asks you?
Well, this is now a topic which is under discussion because like until a few years ago, there were only like a few producers of data logger, like a few bigger companies, and the choice was not too many. Now you go on Amazon, you click on data logger, and the market, you know, is like huge. And sometimes you see that they have like the same performance that they show a same performance, and one costs €1 and the other costs 70 euros, you know. So you don't really understand what is good and what is not good. And as I said, it is always better to have a little bit of knowledge about the different models of data logger, because basically the verified, certified, and reliable ones, there are like 3, 4, 5 companies. Okay. All the rest is something that I call unknown. Okay, maybe they can work, but maybe they can't. So before as soon as we know that a client wants to use a data logger which is not known as in a performance, the first thing I do, I go on the web and check the price. If the price is very low, I give a call to the client and say, hey, you know what? It's a very cheap data logger. So are you sure you want to use this? Because I don't want to be liable, you know, because we have some other products like, I don't know, Tempson or Sensitech. Those are like the big brands, right? And the big brands, they are certified and they come with a certification. So this is basically the situation. You cannot force your client to use a certain data logger, which is more expensive comparing to other ones, but usually they are very sensitive to the quality of data logger used. Usually they're very sensitive. So when I'm talking about pharmaceutical, because consider also something that the data logger for pharmaceutical sometimes are not the same of the data logger used for food. So it is very important to talk about, you know, to understand what we talk about. If we talk about pharmaceutical, or if we talk about food. When we talk about pharmaceutical, usually they're very sensitive, and if you doubt the quality of a certain data logger that they may want to use, they usually follow, you know, and prefer to use like a better quality one.
Okay, so don't buy cheap. That's
well, that yes, that's the suggestion.
Okay, look for a good data logger dealer. And expensive. Okay, thank you, Andrea.
Well, not expensive, but at least, you know,
reliable.
Reliable. Let's say reliable.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, Tanya. Somebody else has a question?
Yeah, I do. With the data logger, wouldn't they have a lithium battery in it as well? Wouldn't it make it a DG?
Well, there are some data loggers. This is basically the reason why the airline, they want to know what the model of the data logger. This is exactly the reason, you know, because of course there is a matter of liabilities, but there is also a matter of you know, regulation. So there are some data loggers that they carry lithium battery and they are considered DGR, and you must treat them as a DGR. So we come back to the dry ice kind of airway bill as we mentioned before. But basically there are many that they even work with different types of batteries that are not regulated. Okay, but basically yes, they use lithium batteries. So above all, the most powerful ones, the most some of them they use lithium batteries, and you maybe handle them as DGR.
I just wanted to I just wanted to let you know, like for example, Andrea, Europe is, I understand, is as you mentioned, but here in Canada, for example, all exporters they supply their own, so they do not allow a freight forwarder to supply the data logger. There's too many risks involved. So most of the large meat exporters, or let's say ice cream, is a big commodity for export out of Canada. They're buying their own, so they supply us with the data logger, and then they give us. So, for example, here in Canada, freight forwarders are not really involved in the pharmaceutical, unless you're a Kuehne+Nagel, you may get into a large pharmaceutical company. But most exporters are going directly to the shipping lines. For example, from my experience, I used to ship a lot to Japan, and MOL is the largest, and they actually have the genset with a logger that they supply. So MOL Cool, which they have a service out of Vancouver, is quite advanced. So many of the large exporters are going to specific companies like OOCL, MOL, NYK, and they avoid the general cargo guys like MSC and those guys, right? Like for example, in my experience, I would never give a reefer cargo to MSC, right? Just the way they do business. They'll bump you off even though it's a reefer out of Montreal. They don't really care, right? My only experience is you have to be very careful which carriers you're using, right? As for airlines in Canada, Air Canada is the dominant player. They have a cool system that is second to none. They quote all freight forwarders. So we have a fairly reliable service with Air Canada.
John,
just to add, Astron, for example, we export meat all over the world. We have a 1,000 TEU service contract with Hapag-Lloyd, and we're shipping frozen and chilled. So we have quite a bit of experience in our Montreal office. The gentleman that handles all that is ex Hapag-Lloyd. So in case anybody has any inquiries out of Canada. Stop. Thank you.
I must say that both things that you say are very true, and are very true also in Europe. First of all, that the data loggers are usually supplied by the exporter, and this is the same in Italy, the same in France, the same in Spain, and in Europe, everywhere. Basically, they're supplied by the exporter. And it is also true, as you said, that the exporters tend to be limited and involved in the pharmaceutical. But this is more true in Canada and probably US comparing to Europe. Why that? Because in Europe, there are so many small, medium-sized companies, even in the pharmaceutical industry. So what happens that these small, medium-sized companies, they look for small, medium-sized freight forwarders. Okay, so it's a kind of a different type of market. So it's if we talk about Pfizer, if we talk about Bayer, obviously they have like a huge contract with these expeditors or DHL or Bolloré or like big in or Kuehne+Nagel, like big freight forwarders. But the scenario in Europe is changing very fastly, meaning that the type of companies working in pharmaceuticals and doing pharmaceuticals, above all when we talk about nutraceutical. Nutraceutical is the food supplement. So the integrators, the vitamins, there are so many small, medium-sized companies that are coming up. And those small, medium-sized companies, they require the help of smaller freight forwarders because they require to be educated into a certain industry. They're not interested to these huge corporate contracts. So it's a kind of, I mean, it's very true what you're saying. It's like a different in market perspective.
Thank you so much. Shalini, I think you wanted to say something before.
Yeah. I was asking that if the along with the data logger, if the and the dry ice thing, if it is hazardous, if it is DG, then does the rate change accordingly? The air freight and the sea freight change accordingly?
Well, sea freight, to be honest, I have not too much experience in using a data logger during sea freight because I'm not even sure that because the data logger, they have of course like a shelf life which is obviously pretty limited, so I have no experience about using of data logger on the sea freight. But when we talk about the use of data logger in air freight, of course you must mention, but they have according to the type of UN class and DGR class, many times there is not like a premium rate, only for the use of data logger, because basically you're already paying a premium rate in terms of controlled temperature. So when you have like when you want to ship pharmaceutical to everywhere in the world, and then that must be kept between +2 and +8 degrees, you're already paying a premium rate only for being pharmaceutical. Then the use of data logger may not affect too much, the rate itself.
About allow me one thing about the reefer containers. You don't really need a data log because the reefer has its own call history. I don't know if I'm saying it that's the correct word in English. You can actually pay the shipping line a fee, at least with Hamburg Süd. That's what the one I do my reefers with. You can add and you can pay a fee, and you can track your temperature with a device that the container already has. So the data log would just be doing the same thing again, which could be good if you're like really, really worried and you want to have a backup or whatever. But you're supposed to have that with the shipping line. Exactly.
Yes, this is also very true. And the monitoring system now are very well developed. But one very important thing, since Alejandro, you're mentioning like reefer container, is also when we send a reefer container at shipper location, we must ask a few questions to the shipper because not only the temperature to be set, but also the air circulation required because the cold in a reefer container comes from the floor, and the floor is like the T floor, So sometimes if, for example, in a 20 reefer container, it happens that they may load 5 or 6 or 7 containers without filling up the containers. Then it is best to put some cartons over the empty floor in order to ensure the right circulation of air. And then also the shipping line may ask you if you want the vents open or closed. And usually the vents must be closed when we ship frozen cargo and must be open when we ship cool cargo, fresh cargo. This also for the humidity. And one very important point is the pre-cooling. We mentioned about the pre-cooling of the goods itself, which is very important. So when some client wants to ship some reefer cargo that usually is not shipped under controlled temperature. I give you an example. The food supplement or the cosmetics in Italy, clients, they ship it as general cargo from October till April, and they ship it in under temperature control from May to September. Same goods, same things, but different type of shipping. And sometimes they want you to keep, so they don't have, they don't pre-cool the goods, and they load some goods that are very, very warm into the reefer container. This is this can be like a huge problem, because they expect that we pre-cool with the use of a reefer container, we pre-cool the goods, but it doesn't work like this. So it is very important. And also something that we may want to take under consideration is the condensation effect. Condensation effect is very important because can effectively wet the cartons and wet the goods. So it is my experience. We shipped five pallets on a beautiful sunny day of summer from Rome to Milan, and when the goods arrived in Milan, they were completely wet. So everybody was was shocked, because no rain, nothing of nothing, 2 hours transport, and then the goods arrived wet. Why that? Because of condensation. The difference between the reefer container and the reefer van and the temperature of the goods. The shock may create condensation, and condensation is really an enemy. So it's something that we must all take under consideration.
Okay, so one more person. I think Yanis wanted to say something.
First of all, Andrea, congratulations for your presentation. It was really to the point, as much as I say, because I'm also involved in air freight. Therefore, for me, everything that you said was really common and really on a daily basis of what we do, because we are actually involved heavily in cool chain and a lot of cosmetics and a lot of pharmaceutical. And by the way, I would like to introduce our company to everyone, because we are actually also involved in thermal control packagings. This is what we do the past 3 years. We supply thermal control packagings, passive packagings, mostly for clients. But we serve this kind of industry mostly as a door-to-door solution for the client. We don't actually sell the goods only to a shipper, but we educate the shipper, and we're trying to offer them a door-to-door solution via a network of agents. Because these kind of commodities, the past 3 to 5 years, I would say, dominate the air freight market. Because the presentation of Andrea is mostly driven for air freight shipments. Sea freight is a vast area that mostly, I would say, has to do with food industry and frozen industry, but pharmaceutical industry, especially the past 5 years and for the years to come, will dominate for the air freight market. And what Andrea said was a very important point. For the COVID-19 vaccine will be the biggest logistics air freight model that our industry will survive to see, because no one will ever anticipate the volumes that will need to be shipped in a very limited time frame. So all the members of the supply chain will be heavily tested for what is to happen very soon. And for us, it is an industry that is worth someone to be very specific on and to be very sophisticated in what he does, because this is something that will dominate the next 10 years from my perspective, especially pharmaceuticals. And as I said, our company offers thermal control packagings for the days to come and for the weeks to come. I will also send a mail of our company and our presentation for everyone to know and to see. We're located in Greece, and we also offer, we have offices in Cyprus, and we mostly deal with air freight, not so much in sea freight. Just again wanted to say congratulations to Andrea, because his presentation was really to the point, to people who are mostly involved in sea freight. Air freight for special packaging, and especially for pharmaceutical, is sophisticated and needs a lot of study before anyone can handle it. So this is why shippers and anyone involved in this should be educated, should study, and then choose according to their specific levels, because the specifications and the regulations involved in shipping dangerous goods and pharmaceuticals will definitely be more difficult in the years to come. Thanks everyone for your time.
Yes, I mean, thank you for these comments, Yannis, because very, very important, all the comments that you made, and I totally agree with everything you said. And we better be ready, because there is like a huge challenge in front of us, and we must be seriously ready. We give a professional service, and we must grow. Each of us, internally in their own office, personally, must grow in terms of knowledge, in terms of professionalism that we require to offer to the market and to our clients. I'm happy that you joined, because Greece is a very important market for pharmaceutical within Europe, and not only in terms, of selling as a market to sell, but also is a producing site, which is very important, and it is strategically located, and it is important, very important, I think, for the value of the network that we all belong to have such a member well prepared as you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we are finishing now. So again, thank you so much, Andrea, for the presentation, and thank you to everybody that has participated. We know that you have a lot of work. We also believe it is important to work on this family, this community, and like at the end of the day, we will help each other and we will learn from each other. And thank you so much for attending. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andrea. Nice meeting.
Thank you, Montse.